Okay, here we have a question from John, giving me a suggestion for a future video, a video I've actually thought of making in the past, but I always stumble on it. And he's asking if I would explain why I have a separate work area, D videos. In other words, on my D drive, I created a folder called videos. And into there, I have other folders like input, output, and Wondershare, Filmora. And he wants to know what does Filmora put into these folders. And so I want to explain the history of it and why I did it. And then I think maybe I'll conclude with why it's probably not a good idea anymore. When Filmora first came out, and believe me, I'm a user from when it was actually before it was called Filmora. It used to be just called Video Editor. So I go way back. But for the longest time, up until maybe version 8, I think definitely by version 9, what they did was they installed Filmora into either these program files 86, which is the older format, or they installed it into this newer program files. And when they installed it there, all your user data, including whatever you created, whatever resources you downloaded, whatever, it all went into these main subfolders here. And this is a really dangerous place to be operating. People would say, well, where are my files? Where are my files? And they go in digging around. And if you go in digging around and you mess up one of the files in your program files, you might corrupt it. So that's really a bad place to put it. So I felt that this was a bad place for me to have my work. I didn't want to go messing around there. I didn't want to go looking for it. So I created my own directory on the D drive, and I just called it videos. And in videos is where my Wondershare Filmora is installed. But what really do I have in here? Let's go into that. I didn't always have Filmora installed in this directory. It was up in the C drive as where it would normally be installed. But I did create my input, which is where this is where I create my projects. So any projects that I'm working on or whatever are in there. And I have some other things that I save in this particular area. You got videos input and videos output. And so those are two things that I like. And then also I had my own custom resources that I created, things that I drew up or whatever. And I created a little folder for that because after version 8, going into version 9, Filmora started messing around with where they were keeping stuff. And I, like many other people, said, hey, wait a minute, what the heck happened to all my resources? And you really had to dig around and see where did version 8 have this stuff and why isn't it in version 9? Well, they changed the file structure. That's why it's not there. And then when version 10 came out, lo and behold, they kind of changed the structure back to the way it was in version 8. But everything that you had in version 9 didn't get copied back. And so I said, well, nuts to that. I'm just going to create my own place. Since then, they've gotten much better about preserving a user's stuff. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But first of all, I want to explore where does Filmora really install, because this is not the Filmora this is not the program. This is theoretically all of the user's input and things that you download and so forth and everything like that. And it has its own output area. It has its own input area, projects they call it. And that's probably where your stuff is, albeit it's not going to be on the D drive, it's going to be on the C drive. And I'll show you in a second where that would be. But we will also go over how you create all of these folders over here. So where does Wondershare install Filmora? It's not in the program files. It's not in this older program files. And you might say, well, where else could it be? Well, it's in this user section two places in here. And there is another folder here that you don't see where it is also located. Now, why they split it into these three separate areas, I don't know. In order to see these folders, you have to turn on a feature in Windows Explorer. In other words, the default setup is to hide certain folders so you don't get in and mess with them. And it just so happens that Wondershare installs Filmora behind one of these hidden folders, and that's why most people can't find it. So you need to go up to this view here, and then you need to go down to show, and then you need to go over and activate hidden items. Now, that didn't actually activate anything. I've now shut off Windows Explorer one time, and I've restarted it. And when I expand this again, we now see what between this program files and the temp folder, we had nothing before. We now have two grayed out folders. And recovery, don't go in to mess with that because that's where your Windows program backs up its stuff in case you totally mess it up and you will need to restore it. So you don't want to play around in there. But in program data, there is part of Filmora, not the operating system, but part of it. And if we open that up and we go all the way down to Wondershare Filmora, there's Wondershare, and you wonder why I have two of them. It's because I also bought another product, the UniConverter, and a couple other things they put in there. But Wondershare Filmora is in here, and if we open that up, we will see that there is a bunch of different configs and stuff like that. You don't need to be messing around in here. There's not much of any value that you're going to get in here at all. So if it's not stored in program files in either one of these, and it's not installed in program data, where the heck did they put your Filmora? If it's not up in these locations, it must be here in users. So when you activate users or you open this up, you will see a list of users, default and so forth. And you will see also your username. And that's the next place you need to go. Once you open up the user, you click into your user information, then you see this grayed out folder here. And that means, of course, that it was hidden. And that's why if you were looking for it, you would never find it without turning on the view portion there. Basically, you open that up, and that has three subfolders, local, low, and roaming. And the actual operating system where Filmora is installed is in this area right here. We'll take a look at that next. But the data that you create is installed in this thing called roaming. And we'll take a look at that after we take a look at the operating system first. So just real quickly, we don't really need to go into the operating system. But if we click into it, then we have a list of all of our programs that use this app data. And at the bottom there, of course, we have Wondershare. We click into Wondershare, and then we see we have Filmora and Filmora Update. So this is where the updater runs when it's ready to give you a new version. And this is where the program is installed. So if we go into that, we will see that basically all of the old versions that you had are still left over. Not really, though. There's only about 20 or 24 to 25 files in each one of these. They pretty much get deleted, and everything gets transferred over to the latest version. So you may have noticed that you no longer lose your little icon on the desktop of your computer when you install a new version. That's because they install it from this program right here, Wondershare Filmora Launcher. That starts the program. And the very first file it reads is this configure ini. And in that configure ini file, it gives you the latest version number. And so that obviously matches up with your version number that you have installed. And so it looks for that version, and then it calls up the program from there. And in there, of course, is the actual Filmora program with whatever the version is. But anyway, this is what's in the local section. Again, it's not your data. There is, we can go into here, and there are a bunch of different folders with different things, but they're more related to just the setup of the program, like the skins, for example. You want a light skin, you want a dark skin, just appearance, what language you're using. Your logs are located here. So sometimes when Wondershare asks you for your logs, these are the logs that they need in order to see the steps you took to get into trouble. And anyway, yeah, so that's where all of this stuff is. It's not user generated, it's not downloaded content. So let's just back up a second and get back to local app data. And in app data, then we will close up local and we will go to roaming. Roaming is, and again, we have to scroll down to the bottom of roaming to get to Wondershare. And we open that up. And here we have Wondershare Filmora. And we open that up. Now, all of these folders are the folders. Let me bring it over here on this other list here. This is where your user data and resources that you download are stored. And anyway, it's all stored there, and it's all carried forward to the next version. So in other words, your stuff doesn't disappear. Sometimes resources move from one category to another, whatever, and that kind of makes people upset that they can't find that particular resource. But that's just Wondershare messing around with you. Anyway, that gets us to the point where, why do I have what I have? So we've established that I created on my D drive a folder called videos. And in videos, I have a number of folders where I create other content. My Blender program is a 3D animation program. I make my own titles and transitions and so forth with that. GIMP is a nice photo editing software that's free, so I have my output is in here. And my 360 camera stuff goes in here. And I even have my own resource files because, as I said, many people got upset when they changed the structure around and they seem to have lost all of their resources. Well, I just created a place to store all of my resources, homemade stuff, like these arrows and this thing that you see in my opener, the little video clip with the wine glass and so forth. I store them in here so that I'll never lose them. So that's why I have that. And the output is where any project that I work on, I'd like to have it sent to here. Unfortunately, Filmora is messing with us on that, and it doesn't preserve that setting every time we get a new version. Kind of defaults back to its own little output. But you'll also notice that I have Wondershare Filmora. And when we go into that, and let me open it up on this side here, and open up Filmora. Here are all of these files, and what are these files all about? Well, anything that starts with AI, of course, is anything that relates to the AI stuff. Cache, I guess that's stuff that you're saving. AI erasing happens to be if you're taking a photo and you're removing an object in the photo so it appears that it's gone, whatever. This is where that gets stored. AI media gets stored there. Ultra HD, I forget what that is. I think I did use that for something or other. But anyway, just a bunch of files. And here's the backup, the cloud project. Anything I downloaded is in there. And you notice that this is speech to text output, and this is text to speech output. So if you use those two features in Filmora, then this is where they end up. And they should be deleted when you do your clearing out, but not always. And there is even this Filmora. It's weird that they have Filmora as a category within Filmora, but they do. And that just has a bunch of folders with all kinds of other stuff. Now, these are the actual resources that you have on your computer. So if you're looking for something that's already provided to you, then this is where you can go. Let me see if I can find something that's, oh yeah, all right. If you're looking at the filters or the sticky notes or whatever, GIFs and so forth, this is where they actually have them. So if you wanted to go find the original of that, you can do that. Let's see, here's our basic blur, for example, and this is the information related to it. They load it using this file here. And there's the blur configurations and whatever. So this is the basic things that Filmora provides with you. And anyway, so that's what's in here. This is my data, and it's over here on the D drive. But where did it come from? Let's go into that next. Okay, under File and Preferences, we can go to Folders. And obviously, this is where I made the change. When you install Filmora, most likely it's going to be in the C drive, users, your username, roaming, and then it's going to be all those folders. Now, you can change that by clicking change, and you can go to any place else on your computer and say, this is where I want my Filmora user-generated data to be stored. So you do that, and then everything below it gets changed for these different categories, like the AI generated, the proxy files, and so forth. It all gets changed, almost all of it. And I'll get into that in a little bit later. But one of the things that we have over here under Media Cache is where we can go and clear all of this stuff that clutters up the hard drive. And by clicking these things, we can quickly clear up our stuff. We don't actually have to go and hunt for it. And this is what they put in after people were complaining, like, I don't know where this stuff is. I don't know where my hard drive is clogged up and so forth and all this and that. And by the way, if you download media and stuff like that and you don't want it anymore, you can go in here and you can delete them. But the other side thing you can do is you can click on the folder and you can open up that folder, and then you can find that particular effect that you don't have to go hunting around with your Windows Explorer to find it. But that's a whole other topic, so let's not even get to that. But the point is, this is great. This is great, but it doesn't cover everything. Now, in this next part, I'm going to be speculating a little bit because I've not tracked it all down completely. But when you do that change feature in Filmora in the preferences, and you change the location, as I did, where I installed my Filmora resources on the D drive under a folder called videos, this folder here, and then Wondershare here. And I got all of these folders here. That's pretty cool. But where do they come from? I believe, and over here on this other side, here I'm in my C drive, the users, my username, I'm in the app data, and I'm in the roaming section. Now, okay, again, I have to go down to Wondershare and I have to go to Filmora. Now, technically, these two should be identical. What we see here, or what we see here, should be identical. They should be the same. And in some cases they are, in other cases they're not. And if we look down, we can see that, yeah, okay, that's the same. Wait a minute, that one doesn't exist there, and this one doesn't exist there. Then we got music. Music doesn't exist there, but media is over here. And so we can see it's kind of a hodgepodge of things. Cloud Project appears on both sides. But anyway, it's just basically a hodgepodge. Download is on both sides. And then again, some of them don't. Okay, I've belabored that enough. So that gets to my last point. Is it a good idea to create your own little work area? I'm starting to think no. For one thing, when you go and you create your own work area, and then you go into preferences and media cache where you clear out your stuff. It's basically clearing out stuff over here. But lo and behold, there are things that appear over here which don't get cleared out. Or maybe some of the stuff over here gets cleared out. Again, I haven't fully tracked it down. But if you're really trying to clear out your computer, and I see a lot of times people say, well, I uninstalled Filmora and I reinstalled it. Yeah, lo and behold, the user media gets erased, for one thing. Backup files don't necessarily get erased. And so anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's speech-to-text stuff that doesn't really get erased. Let me see if I could figure out where that was again. I think that was up in the AI stuff. I don't know if it was AI cache. Let me move this one out of the way. AI cache. Yeah, there we go. This is stuff that I've created a long time ago. And let me just change the view setting on that just to demonstrate here. Let's details. Okay, so here's stuff that I created last July. Here's stuff from January. And when I just went through and I cleared everything out of preferences, this stuff is still hanging around. So that doesn't get cleared out. There are other things, the speech to text, the voice recording. If you do a voiceover, then that doesn't get cleared out. That gets stored some other place. So the fact that Filmora has given us this feature to allow us to move things over was a good idea, good intentions. It allows us to set up our own work area. However, it makes, if we want to try to clear stuff out, it means that we basically have to look at both sides. So that's why I'm coming to the opinion that maybe it's not a good idea to set up your own work area. All you need to know is that you need to be able to change the setting on your Windows Explorer to show hidden files, and you just need to know that under users, your username, app data, I believe is what it's called, is where your stuff is stored under roaming. Okay, app data roaming. Yeah, that's where you want to get to. And that's the one place. So anyway, when you did the other, you set up the new area, it actually copied and moved some files over while leaving some files behind. And I believe the reason why it leaves the files behind is because as they added new features, this is one of those things they forgot to update along the way. So if Filmora is watching, or Wondershare is watching this, maybe you want to look at that setup. But please don't change the file structure on us again, because it's going to be crazy. It would be nice if everything here was transferred over. But for those of us who have created our own little work area, because at one time it was a good idea, if they move it back, we're screwed. So anyway, that's why it's probably not a good idea for you to go down the path that I've gone down. Hopefully this clears up a little bit about Filmora and where your stuff is located at, and a little bit of how it works. So I'm going to end it with that. A little addendum. As I was reviewing what I said and everything like that, I think the reason they don't erase some of the AI stuff and speech to text and text to speech is because you pay for that with your credits. And so they don't want to erase something that you've generated that you may want to use again in the future. Despite that being said, there is still stuff in there that doesn't get erased when it should be. And if they were going to help out the users, they ought to copy the whole directory over into the personal workspace. And that certainly would continue making it work.